Hedron, a brand new crypto for specifically Hex. I'm going to dive into what it is, how it all works. There's 3 specific things that can be done with Hedron using a Hex stake. You can get free money, you can borrow against your stake, and you can tokenize your stake. We're going to dive into each one of those in this video. But first, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. If anybody wants to support the channel, there's some links down below. You can jump over to Twitter or Instagram and follow along or reach out if you have any questions. Instagram, where there's a lot more fitness-related content. So let's dive into it. Hedron just came out. They're currently in their initial sacrifice phase, except for it's not a sacrifice. You only get to receive Hedron if you have Hex. And this is the price chart, up a drastic amount since launching. This is up 81% in 10 days or something like that, 2 weeks at this point. This is a massive run up, and I don't understand why anybody would actually hold Hedron, but we're going to get into that in a minute. So I took the time and read through their site here, but then I also read through their entire white paper here to get a better idea so that I could explain it for you guys. So we talked about those 3 things. To mint Hedron, you can tokenize or you can basically borrow against your stake in Hex. So let's start with the minting. And we're going to not really talk about the bonus portion of this, and maybe we'll touch on it towards the end a little bit, but because this is hopefully helpful to future people who are interest in Hex and they want to learn about Hedron. If somebody has a Hex stake natively on Hex, they can get free Hedron, period. How that works is you can take that and come over to this site here, and you'll be able to, I don't know, I'm assuming you come into here, and you can set it up through here. And that's also where you can see your payments if you were to take out a loan, or if you needed to liquidate somebody who wasn't paying back their loan. So if somebody goes to hex.com and stakes some Hex into the future, you can come over to Hedron and actually mint free Hedron. How that works is, if, say, you have a stake for 1,000 days, 100 days, 5,000 days, whatever your prerogative is, and you're some period into that, or say you did it today. I think the time period that they talk about that's in the smart contract is something like every day at midnight, the same time as Hex rolls over for minting new Hex. Then this does as well. And you get just free Hedron. And you get to see that Hedron is currently at 0.000065%. I'm sorry, cents or whatever. So it's not worth a lot at this point. And the ratio which you earn Hedron is, you get 1 Hedron for every B share. A B share is like a T share for Hex. However, there is, T is for the trillion, right? So instead of trillion, it's just going to be based on 1/1000th of that. So if you have 1 B share, then you get 1 Hedron. So obviously if you have a fraction of a B share, then you get a fraction of a Hedron kind of thing. And that is what you would mint. Every day in your stake, you get to mint Hedron. You just get free money from having that, period. You don't need to do anything. It doesn't cost you anything other than, I think, gas fees for Ethereum, right? Which, I mean, could potentially mean that it's not fucking worth it, right? Because if you have something that's 0.00065 and it costs you $11 of fees from gas fees, like that would be a lot you would need to compensate for that to make it make sense, unless you plan on holding Hedron with hopes that this price goes up further, right? But I don't know. I mean, maybe because it's brand new, maybe somebody would hold it for a period of time, right? For a while, but it doesn't do anything for you, and it's just gonna inflate over time, and the price I would expect to be pretty volatile, just because it's brand new, but also because it doesn't do anything. So why would you hold it? Like, just trade out of it into something that's useful, in my opinion. Right? Get rid of it. Get something else that that has some type of value to it. Because holding it doesn't do anything for you. Now, you can also take your Hex stake and do something they call HSI, which is like a Hex Stake Instant. So when you in like real estate, you can wrap your mortgage in some cases, and that's effectively what this would be, kind of thing, for simple purposes. You're taking your Hex smart contract and you're putting another smart contract on top of that contract, and they are calling it an HSI. What the HSI gives you, different than just a native Hex stake, is that the HSI allows you to do two additional things, which we talked about at the beginning. It allows you to borrow against your Hex stake, as well as tokenize it. So let's talk about borrowing first. The common nomenclature that they use in the white paper is advance. You're basically taking an advance against your future earnings or your future mintability of Hedron. So say, for example, you are going to be able to mint 100,000 Hedron, right? What does that actually come out to be in terms of dollars? Let's see here. So we've got 0.0065 times 100,000, so 65 cents, right? So it might be pointless, waste of your time, but we're going to go through this. We're going to cover future projects too. So if you want to follow along with those, make sure you press the subscribe button and the bell notification. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because this is just in the launch phase of this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 100 days and then beyond that, because the launch phase lasts for 100 days. If somebody does the smart contract on top of a smart contract, meaning Hex stake smart contract, and then they wrap that with another smart contract from Hedron, they are able to take an advance against that. So remember that if you have a native Hex stake, you can just print Hedron for free. Now, that is the only thing you can do. For each additional day of staking, you get to mint more Hedron. So when you go through and play that out into the future, you would get a total amount of Hedron you could mint. Say that was $100,000, 100,000 Hedron. Borrowing that allows you to pull all of those future days that you would be able to mint Hedron for free to today, right? And then you'd pay that back every 30 days, right? And we can get into the payment details of that, because this is the more complex portion of this. But it's very unique. So it's basically a very, very cheap way of borrowing against your staked Hex in the future. But also, for people who are not paying attention, they can lose that, right? But then it could create an opportunity for other people. The payment is going to be dictated in the interface here, right? So I think that is, let's see here, on the Hedron website here. If you go to the Hedron DApp, it's going to show up somewhere in here, right? You have to connect some type of wallet to this and then add it to get it rocking and rolling. And that's where your payment is going to be made. That's also where your payment is going to be shown, like how much it is. But you can go through and read white paper and calculate it for yourself. The interest rate you're going to pay is half of the global Hex APY. So let's check that right now. Hex.com. I'm assuming it shows it here somewhere. Well, let's just assume it's 38%. I don't know if that's accurate or not. You can let me know in the comments, but I doubt that is accurate. I think it's less than that. But anyways, it's 38%. So it is half of that, and then you basically you break it down to a daily rate, and then you multiply it times 30. So say if it was 40%, not 38 like on Hex, right? So just for math purposes, so then it'd be 20%. You take 20% divided by 365 times 30 days is going to give you how much you're going to pay in interest per payment period. The unique thing here is that the interest you're paying is not on the balance, but just on the payment. So the borrowing rate is very, very low. Like, it's a very small amount that one is going to have to pay in interest. Cool, that's awesome. That's fantastic, right? I still don't understand why anybody would actually hold Hedron, unless they're just, it's an option, right? It's just a free option that people get. So free options tend to have some type of value. Now, when any payment is made, and then remember the payment's going to include principal and the interest, that's burned completely. So that just goes away. And at the 90-day mark, there is a liquidation that happens. So this is not automatic. This is going to be triggered by somebody else. Again, that is going to happen somewhere in here according to their white paper. Now, when this happens, the liquidation will mean that somebody has gone 90 days past due in paying their Hedron back from those borrowed future earnings or future free money. We're not going to say earnings, right? The future free money that we would have printed if every single day from the stake in Hex. Now, I would not let any stake go, not just get free money here and then sell it and get rid of it. Although you'd have to have a lot of it for it to even make sense because of the gas fees. When somebody doesn't pay their bill in 90 days, right? So at the 90-day mark, it goes to liquidation. So anybody can trigger that liquidation. When it does that, then the total amount of Hedron available that was advanced to that person has to be paid. But what does that give them? Well, that gives them the ability to take that and then control and thus have the underlying Hex position, right? So they're going to control the staked Hex. So they're not just paying back Hedron, which is going to be worthless, right? They're going to be getting control of the Hex position underneath it. So that could be an interesting play right there. Somebody's probably going to create something so that this would be automated, I would think. I mean, that's what I would do if I knew how to do that. Create it so it would be automated so that I can get that position to be able to get the underlying Hex, because that's what the valuable part is. Now, when you look at the token part, so that's this part right here. I don't know fully what happens with Hex once it is staked. I don't currently have any staked Hex, and I've not read through their white paper yet and completely read through their site. So I don't believe it is possible to transfer ownership of Hex if somebody needs money at this moment. other than the emergency end stake, right? And if you have an emergency end stake of Hex and you're not 50% of the way through your term, you're going to lose money on that. So this token on the tokenization of your Hex position would allow you to take that and basically trade it as an NFT. So your smart contract for Hex that is staked gets wrapped by another smart contract from Hedron. That, if one chooses to, can be tokenized as an NFT and be sold on another marketplace or transferred individually. Right, so I don't know if you can transfer individually or how that would work. It might open up the marketplace to get rid of instead of end staking. I'm sorry, instead of I think it's called end staking, right? Like closing your Hex position early if you're staked it. End staking, I think it's what it's called. If you do that, it could be very costly, right? So instead of doing that, you could sell it off and the cost would probably be significantly less, right? So that could be valuable. Now, the owner of that could grab that, or the new owner, right? If they purchase that, they could take that, bring it back into here somewhere, and they would allow. Oh wow, there's a button for liquidations. That's cool. So that's where you do the liquidations then. And they could take that, detokenize it, and mint, Hedron, or go through and borrow against that if they chose to. Now, one of the things that I found interesting at the end of this was at the end of their white paper was that the source address, so the origin address, they're going to get a copy of all the bonus Hedron. So if we go back over here, whatever bonus Hedron is collected, currently 33 trillion circulating supply of Hedron, right? So they're going to get like all that basically, I believe, in one address. And it's just going to continue increasing as Hex increases, as more people use this, if more people use this. Then if anybody chooses to tokenize their shit and get rid of it, there's a transfer fee. So there's a flow address. So in the smart contract, there's a flow address. This means that when somebody tokenizes their stake in Hex using Hedron and sells it on a NFT marketplace, meaning that one could hypothetically buy Hex from Solana or something like that, because I don't know, but I feel like you may be able to buy Solana or buy things that are on Solana on Coinbase. This might be a backdoor way of purchasing Hex potentially. If the marketplace for Solana NFT marketplace or OpenSea or something like that has these, then this could be a backdoor way to access Hex in terms of pre-staked Hex. So that's kind of interesting. But the fee is 0.15% of any sale. So that means that the flow address is going to capture some value on that as well. So that was kind of interesting. Now let's really quickly touch on the bonus section here, and then if you have any questions, you can let me know down below in the comment section. If somebody wants to pay off their advance early, so say somebody borrowed their future mintability of Hedron today, they could pay it off early, and that is just burned, right? And the only reason that I think you would find, I mean, I'm sure there's many reasons for different people. One of the reasons that I thought of for borrowing would be to sell it and put it into something else that has value. So say, for example, this is my idea, right? So if you have if you could mint a bunch of Hedron because of the quantity of like B shares that you have in Hex, this would allow you to take that, borrow against it, and you could say leave 12 months worth of payments. Say if you did 15 years in Hex staking, you could borrow against that. So pull all those future and keep 1 year or 18 months, depending on your prerogative or what your thoughts are on the future price of Hedron or the future relationship between Hex and Hedron. When you have two things that are like related in some capacity, a lot of the times they're correlated in their price movement. What does that mean in English? So if you have two things that are based on each other in some way, if one goes up in price, the other one tends to move up in price. Does that mean it's a 1-for-1? Meaning if Hex goes up by $1, that Hedron will go up by $1? Surely not, right? This is a pointless one, right? Like, or I mean, there's not like it's a way to gather that value off of there, but it doesn't, there's no point in holding it, kind of thing. In my opinion, let me know if you can see a value in that. Please let me know in the comments. I'm curious. And if you held that, say, for 12 months, if you had 18 months worth of payments set aside, you could take the rest of that wasn't that 18 months, right? So you have 15-year stake, you take 18 months of those, and you just set those there to make the monthly payments for you. The rest of that you could take and, say, buy more Hex, right? And then stake that into the future, right? That way you have more Hex, something that is you would believe would probably be more valuable in the future. Right? And you've got 18 months worth of that staked here. Now, over the next 18 months, you're going to continue to be able to mint from this account from the second stake you have here that could, I don't know, you'd have to run the numbers to see if that would be enough to be able to actually pay this. Now, during the time from T0 to 18 months, right, the price of Hedron could go up, right? A lot of brand new projects are like they tend to go up over time, whether it's shitty or not. From my elementary understanding of crypto at this point in the game, so that could be a potential strategy. That would be the only thing that I would see like, oh, that's interesting. Now, in terms of holding, I'd love to know what your thoughts are, and I'll do a quick recap here. But first, if you found any value in this, if you found this interesting, take a second, share with somebody else that you know who owns Hex or who is thinking about Hex or just into crypto, and share this video with them. But most important is your attention, so thank you. Hex natively staked can get free money by just going to here Hex Hedron.pro, and you can claim it through here. You're welcome. If you get a lot of it, you can let me know. Thumbs up on Twitter. If you choose to take your stake and put it into another contract, you can tokenize it, which means you could sell so you don't have to end stake it, and borrow against your future mintability of Hedron that comes out. So hopefully this was helpful. I appreciate you guys, and stay tuned for future videos. We got some awesome stuff planned.